Hi, I'm Scott Ott, and this is Bill Whittle Now. Bill, I'm driving home and I hear on the radio the first CNN poll of the 2020 presidential season. They asked Democrats who they'd like to see as their party's nominee, and I'm sure you're going to be stunned at this. A third of Democrats already say that they'd like former Vice President Joe Biden to be the guy to take on and to take out Donald Trump. Meanwhile, earlier today, before I heard about this poll, I read a column on FoxNews.com by somebody named Leslie Marshall, a Democrat, who said that Joe Biden is the one who can make Donald Trump a one-termer. And here's why. Bill, she said that Joe Biden won't be bullied like Hillary Clinton was. He can handle the ridicule that comes from Donald Trump, and he can dish it back two to one, basically. He can make jokes just as quickly as Trump can. He appeals to the group that Hillary basically ignored, the white working class. Bill, he'd win Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. As a conservative Trump supporter, how nervous does Senator Biden as a presidential candidate make you?
I don't want to say anything because I don't want to jinx it, Scott. Um, we don't have that kind of luck. Maybe we do, you know. Maybe we do. Somebody's looking out for this country, and if the streak continues to hold, then they'll run Joe Biden. My God, it's almost putting Joe Biden in a race against Donald Trump it's almost like it's like abandoning a 3-year-old in a hot car on a shopping mall. It's like you just shouldn't do that. It's not no, it's not right. It's not fair. And that's not because Joe Biden is a nice guy. Joe Biden's not a nice guy. I remember Joe Biden's debate against Paul Ryan, and I just wanted to slug the guy. Just no. I actually use Joe Biden frequently when I talk about capitalism, and the reason that so many third-rate people go into politics. And I say, Donald Trump's run an enormous empire. I said, Donald Trump has run an empire, and Joe Biden couldn't run Walmart. He couldn't run a Walmart. Joe Biden's one of the dumbest guys out there. And if there was a press, the number of opportunities that Joe Biden has had to look like a complete and utter idiot is astronomical compared to what Dan Quayle had to go through. And once again, we're shown the benefit of having, a 30-point headwind. 30 points is what I figured the electoral bias is in this country. If we had a fair media, we would win every single state. The country would vote like Kansas.
So this character, Leslie Marshall at Fox News, is basically making the case that she's had to, or he or she, I don't know if Leslie is a man or a woman, but has had to basically throw out all their previous expectations about what they think a presidential candidate should be like because of Donald Trump. Because Marshall would use the same terminology that you did, that Trump is none too smart and is not a good person, not a nice person. And basically, what Marshall is saying is that Joe Biden is kind of like Donald Trump in many ways. And a lot of people will like him, and he'll do well with the white middle class and the working class. And you seem to be taking all of his advantages for granted and basically saying as a Republican, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please.
How many times has Joe Biden run for president, Scott?
I've lost count.
And let's assume that we don't count 2004 and 2008 because he's in the waiting room. You know what I mean? So that the 2004 2008 elections of Barack Obama and Biden was Biden essentially running for president, and hoping somebody trips and falls down the stairs. I think he must have run for president 5 or 6 times now. Donald Trump got to be president the first time. And Joe Biden has not had that kind of success. So as far as Joe Biden being, as smart, as tough, as clever as Donald Trump, he's not. And I dearly hope that they go this way. The reason Donald Trump is president is because the American people tried, we tried a war hero, racist. We tried a man of essentially impeccable moral character, whatever you think of him as a politician, racist, misogynist, homophobe, animal abuser. And finally, we we realize that what we need is somebody who hits back as hard as they do and does it in a way that gets press coverage. Now, this is the absolute distinction about Donald Trump. It's not just that Donald Trump hits back, although that's 90% of it. Donald Trump, because of his experience in the media, and his fundamental understanding of human nature. I'm looking at some of the deals he's made with NAFTA, the China, and going back to Korea and stuff. This is a man who understands negotiation because he understands how people's minds work, and he understands how to get into their heads. And Trump doesn't just hit back. Trump hits back in a way that everybody is talking about. He's kind of the master of that idea of judo, where the media is this 350-pound linebacker coming at a 60-pound woman. When you think of the power that the media has relative to Donald Trump, even as president, since they can spin everything, here comes this thing, and rather than trying to knock him over backwards, he simply just gets out of the way, sticks his foot there, lets the press trip over themselves, and they go sailing out through the window. He uses the momentum of the press against the press. He uses their visceral hatred of him against them. And there was some big discussion, I remember, all throughout 2016, whether or not Trump was crazy like a fox or just really lucky or just one of these, being their Chauncey Gardner kind of guys who just happened to fall into the right position. But with 4% economic growth, with ISIS smashed in 2 months, with 2 Supreme Court conservatives and new deals with NAFTA, new deals with China, new deals with North Korea, with all of these businesses coming back, it's starting to look a bit much to be the work of an idiot falling into happy circumstances.
Well, when you look at the possible field here, we have Senator Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Cory Booker. Are these all senators? My goodness, senators have a bad track record for this. But also a dark horse, Robert Francis Beto O'Rourke, who's now just a congressman, but he's running for senator in Texas. You've got young, female, African-American. You've got all of these things that Democrats say that they're trying to open the doors to these kinds of people. And yet right now, a third of Democrats say we want the septuagenarian white guy. What does this say about the Democratic Party? Has Barack Obama kind of scared them off from being who they say they really are?
Barack Obama's like a guy who walks arm in arm with a woman along the side of a cliff and makes sure that she's on the cliff side. That way, if she stumbles, she can go down and he gets to just keep on walking.
And who is the woman in this analogy?
The Democratic Party. Barack Obama's been catastrophic for the Democratic Party, and to my absolute utter satisfaction, everything that he seems to have done with his presidential executive orders is being undone with a fair amount of rapidity. Now, yes, obviously, when you have a party who's gone into this strategy of becoming ever more shrill to ever smaller numbers of ever more excitable groups, you've got a problem. If you are basically the party, and Obama did this, there was Obama had, Mexicans for Obama, women for Obama, he had millennials for Obama, he had, I'm sure he had, Madagascarians for Obama. But this whole idea of breaking people up into tribes and playing them against the middle has been their strategy for the whole time. And if they trot out somebody who is the middle, like Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton or Elizabeth Warren, they're in trouble. Now, Biden is an especially horrible choice for them and a wonderful choice for us because you don't even get the female factor. You don't even get the motivation of say, well, we had our first black president, now it's time for our first woman president. I think they'd be much better shape if they run Biden if it's like we had our first black president, now we should have our first idiot president. Real like our first really? mentally challenged president. So if you're going to if all you're doing is talking about how evil old white guys are, and you run Joe Biden, bring him. And as far as this whole Joe appealing to the working man thing, I don't think so. Joe Biden has been part of the Democratic Party. He's been an integral part of the Democratic Party forever. And it's the Democratic Party that has gutted every single major city in America and then produced these horrific conditions of addiction and crime and murder, and it's Democratic policies that have caused American companies to flee overseas. If you had a guy like Mitt Romney running against Joe Biden, Romney's probably too polite to point these things out, but Donald Trump is not, and that's why we are beginning to. There are some people loved him from the beginning. There were those of us who said, "Okay, well, he's the nominee, so let's go with it," and have been very pleasantly surprised. And of course, there are people who just never Trumpers on the right. I think these people are deluded, but that's my personal opinion. I know some of them. Trump is going to be almost impossible. I can't believe I'm saying this. We'll know after the midterm elections. But if the economy continues to grow at 4%, and these kind of deals that he's making continue to get made, I don't see how anybody beats him. They're saying, "Oh, everybody hates Donald Trump." I think I saw today that his approval rating was 51%, which is not a super great number. But I think Obama, at this point in his term, in his first term, was it 38 or 39? So just to finish our horse race here. So there's the case against Biden, by which I mean the case for Biden. Hillary Clinton, I suspect, is so filled with bile, and that bile is under such enormous pressure that it's turned to bile vapor, and is driving this kind of sputtering turbine of hers to creak her out for one more roll at it. I think she's going to at least run, because I don't think she can do anything else. So these are the kind of things we pray for. Trump would destroy her. Elizabeth Warren, I think, would be an easy beat. She's a white, professional, elitist professor snob, and she's also ancient. And her great grandfather was Indian, and everybody's is. I mean, you go back 5, 6, 7 generations, you can connect yourself to anybody. I'm sure I'm that closely connected to Genghis Khan, and people who know me would testify that to be true. So you got those guys. Now, the people I'm more worried about are the young people. Cory Booker is attractive in some ways. He's got a lot of negatives that I think are going to help us. Kamala Harris is, in a lot of ways, is kind of the dream Democratic candidate. But I got to tell you, I think Trump would just peel her. Just peel her like an apple, because their policies are so terrible. And they don't have much of a bench, these Democrats, Scotty.
Well, no matter which way this goes, whether it turns out to be former Senator Joe Biden or Senator Spartacus, Bill Whittle will be there. Yeah, I was thinking, Bill, we should record a 30-second clip from this episode where we have, so we can use a clickbait headline that says, "Major conservative terrified that Joe Biden will be the Democratic nominee."
Terrified that he won't be.
No. I want you to say
terrified that he won't be.
No, I want you to say you're terrified that he will be.
So please, God, please, Democrats, please, not Joe Biden. Joe Biden. We had no chance against a guy like Joe Biden. Please don't throw us in that briar patch with Joe Biden, please.
Well, we know what the truth is here because our members at BillWhittle.com keep us honest, ask us questions, prod us and probe us, and contribute to this effort. We appreciate the encouragement we get on a daily basis from the members at BillWhittle.com who say, keep making stuff like this. It's because of them that we can keep making stuff like this. You want to join that team? Go to BillWhittle.com and hit that subscribe button, become a member, and become a co-producer of this kind of material. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit the notification button so you get an email every time a new episode posts. And you can follow us all over social media, but you know how to find us there. For Bill Whittle, this is Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making this possible.